Good afternoon from Philadelphia. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to those near and far. I'm Hazami Sayed, the founding director of Al-Bustan Seeds of Culture, where I'm now seated in a space we moved to a year ago, our hub on Lancaster Avenue in West Philadelphia. This backdrop you see is an enlarged print of the Soul of the Black Bottom, a project that we partnered with Mural Arts to co-commission El Cid to create 3 years ago at a corner a few blocks from here. This was at the heel of El Cid creating his massive project in Manshiyat Masr in Cairo. And what a pleasure for me to hold in my hand his book of the Cairo project, Perception, gifted to me by our board of directors with a beautiful note from El Cid. Thank you to board members, Omar Harb, Regina Morgan, Lisa Denbury, Tony Abraham, Veronica Aplans, Mark Dado, Huda Fakhreddine, Georgette Hamati, and Sahar Hassan. After 8 fulfilling years since launching Al-Bustan Camp at Morris Arboretum in 2002, it's a nostalgic moment for me now and a significant milestone for the organization to be introducing my last event. As some of you following us currently on social media may have seen, our team has been posting highlights of this year and past year's events, diligently culling through the many photos, videos, and writing compilations we have amassed. It's made me reminisce about the many youth, artists, and community members whom I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with, and seeing them mature to young adults, including my boys, Mazen and Jad, who were the inspiration for starting Al-Bustan and who fueled my passion to continue growing the organization as they grew with it, contributing their time and talents while also benefiting greatly from the educators and artists they learned from and the flourishing cultural community of friends and mentors they were surrounded by. With so many memories and people to thank, there isn't enough time to do that now, but I do plan to write some reflections before my departure, with ample space to acknowledge the many people who have contributed to Al-Bustan, from the families and audience members, community partners, peer organizations, funders, and of course, the dedicated staff, artists, educators, and board members who have been instrumental in the growth of the organization. As for this afternoon's program, I'm so honored to bring to you 3 fabulous Arab women whom I've admired for a long time and had the pleasure of bringing into Al-Bustan's fold early on. These women whose names begin with Noon, Nadine, Naomi, and Nathalie, bedrocks of inspirations to me personally and to the Al-Bustan team and participants over the years. I'm also honored to bring to you the beautiful music of Kinan Abou-afach and Hafez Kotain, 2 musical treasures who have been enabled us to soar with our music programming. Despite the challenges we all face these days, we need to make time for self-care and expressions of joy through culture and the arts. We must see hope as a practice, a dedicated discipline in our commitment to creating a brighter and more equitable future for the communities we live in and for future generations. With that in mind, I'm pleased to present to you Hope and Joy Still Abiding. The program will begin with Nadine Touma and her telling of a tale from the Dar Umbo's nest in Beirut, followed by a musical interlude, then Naomi Shihab Nye reading a selection of poems from her home in San Antonio, then another musical interlude, followed by a reading from Nathalie Handal in New York City. We will then segue into a live conversation moderated by Huda Fakhreddine and concluding remarks from Mohannad Ghawanmeh, the latest member of the Al-Bustan team. I'm excited to be leaving Al-Bustan in Mohannad's very capable hands as the next executive director, and for the organization to spread its wings even further under his leadership. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoy our program. Feel free to share your comments and questions in the chat feature, and put on your headphones or speakers to experience the highest quality of the recorded music.
مرحبكم بالخير يا أهل الخير. Hello, beautiful humans. This is Nadine Touma, co-founder of Dar Umbo's, coming to you from Beirut. I first would like to start by wishing Hazami and Al-Bustan a beautiful new transition, very, very, very wonderful trajectory it's been from 2002 until today. Well, it's definitely have been many, many, many seeds planted in the hearts, in the minds, in the souls, in the hands, and in the lives of many, many, many beautiful humans as well. We were lucky to be part of this journey in 2011 and in 2014, and of course on a personal and human level. Joy and hope, what more really to think about and to ponder and to reflect on, especially in a country like Lebanon. Whenever I am asked to speak, I keep thinking about how interrupted joy and hope have been in our lives. I was born in 1972. I have never lived any 10 full years of joy and hope. And yet, I grew up in a home and in a family for whom love, joy, and hope were always the armors, the tools, the hugs that kept us going. We're coming out of a 3-day book fair. It's the first book fair that really has happened in Lebanon in a while. It's been extremely hard times, and yet what we know and what we felt in these 3 days that we've just spent around humans for the first time in ages was how needed this was, how much humans needed to look into each other's eyes and to listen to each other and to be able to touch a book and to be able to meet and congregate around arts and culture, which was repeated daily to us at least 20, 30 times. You are the reason for us to be hopeful, to be joyful, to want to come back to this country, to love the country where we come from. So for whoever is listening to us, a project like Al-Bustan, a project like Dar Umbuz, anywhere, they are homegrown. They are the essence of what our culture is about and why we need to cultivate such spaces, such adventures, such collaborations, such ways of building. We need to love where we come from. We need to feel pride, joy, and hope from where we come from. We need to feel that we can find it here at home, that we don't always have to think or dream or want to leave so that we find it. And this is what Dar Umbuz is for us. And it was so wonderful to live it for 3 days so intensely. So I come to you full of love and full of joy and full of hope, because after everything Lebanon has gone through in this past year, far beyond, I think, anywhere else around the world, and after August 4, where we lost many loved ones and where we almost also died and really saw this miracle of life, this thin line being crossed between 10 seconds. The value of what we do is so crucial. So I would like to present you a story that we did during the lockdown. It was in May 28, 2020. Wain Brouh, where do I go now? Or where do I go from here? Which was so premonitory in a very incredible and powerful way, because it speaks about where do we go to find joy and hope and love, which is a question that Lebanese have asked for so long, and many Arab nations as well. Where do we go? Where do I go? Wain Brouh. And I just want to tell you an incident that happened, which is when the explosion of August 4th happened, and the day after, in absolute shamble and tears in between, not knowing, still grasping what had happened. I was watching television and I see this woman carrying suitcases and saying, "Wen بروح?" And she was full of dust, shattered wounds, so her hands both were wounded, and she was carrying suitcases and walking in the rubble of the city and saying, "Wen بروح?" And it hit me that I had written this story and performed it, which you're going to watch. We love you, Hazami. We love you, Al-Bustan Seeds of Arts and Culture. And we hope that you will grow into becoming gardens all over the world for all the values we all believe in, with all our love. شفت يا ما شفت يا ما شفت شوفي شفتها وما عدت شفت شوفي مثلها. شفت شفاف عم يبلعوا سفينة على ظهرها مدينة جواتها بير مي بكل حي، بير ورا بير بيروت سموها، وعلى بحر الأبيض المتوسط حطوها، و7 تلال ونهر واحد عطيوها. شفت يا ما شفت شوفي شفتها وما عدت شفت شوفي مثلها. شفت ببيروت آلاف الناس واقفين بإيدن حجر حاملين، على شفافن بيوشوشوا سؤال للحجر وبيكبوه بالبير، بإيدن حجر حاملين. شفت آلاف الناس واقفين بإيدن حجر حاملين، على شفافن سؤال موشوشين، والبير بالحجر كابين بيوشوشوا سؤال للحجر وبيكبوه بالبير، وبيطلع الصدى بمل المدى، صدى سؤال وناس تعبانين ضايعين. بقلب هالصدى في بنت اسمها صدى، بنت صغيرة اسمها صدى، الوحيدة يلي بتبرم بالمدينة لما كل الناس بيكونوا نايمين. لملمت صدى الحجار سؤال ورا سؤال حتى تخبرن خبار وخبار، وتقول سؤال حجر بير، وتربط سؤال بسؤال وتقول أولكن الإنسان بيكبر وبيرجع بيصغر شي. ليش أنا مش حدا تاني؟ كيف حملتني الأرض وأنا أنجأ حامل حالي؟ سألت المهاجرة مرايتها مين أحلى، أنا يما بلدي؟ أولكن الوردة بتحس بالوجع لما نقصها. وين بيتخبى بكرة؟ وين بتروح الأحلام لما نوعى ونرجع ننام؟ شو في بآخر البحر؟ ماما فيكي ما تعيطي علي لما بكسر شي، لأنه لما بكسر شي وبتعيطي علي بتعرفي أنت شو بتكسري؟ قلبي. بتعرفوا تعرفوا أنا وين بعيش؟ أنا يمكن بعيش مع ليل بسما الحب على آخر غيمة يلي بحياتها ما بتغيب. يمكن وين بيروحوا نجوم بالنهار؟ ليش النبتة ما بتفرخ ألعاب؟ ليش عفشي بيضلوا مكركب؟ ليش البحصة بتسند خابية؟ ليش إذا ضربت كتير ما بصير 2؟ ليش لما بلبس خضار على بلوزتي بصير سوفر مثل عصفورتي؟ ليش بغط الحمام بيطير الحمام؟ ليش ما بيطلع الأكي دنيا على شجرة الخرمة؟ ليش الزهرة حتى تفتح بتنطر خيوط الشمس لتحرقها؟ ليش شطوط بيروت مليانة أوهام وبيوت؟ بعد ما لملمت صدى 1000 سؤال وسؤال، وبعد 100 نهار وليل، وبنهار ما إله ليل، بوقت ما إله وقت، بزمن ما إله زمن، الكل قاعد ببيته، هي قعدت على شط البحر بالليل، على شط بحر بيروت تعبانة وهلكانة، وعم تسأل حالها وين بروح؟ تسأل وين بروح وتكب حجر بالبحر، وتسأل حالها وين بروح وتكب حجر بالبحر، تسأل حالها وين بروح وين بروح أنا لما كل شي ما يعود له معنى؟ وين بيروح كل شي لما يبطل في شي فيه؟ وين بيروح الوقت لما ما منحس فيه؟ وين بيروح الحب لما الحب بينتهي؟ وين بتروح الحياة لما بتروح من هالدنيا؟ وين بروح أنا لما كل شي ما بيعود له معنى؟ وين بيروح كل شي لما يبطل شي فيه؟ وين بيروح الوقت لما ما منحس فيه؟ وين بيروح الحب لما الحب بينتهي؟ وين بتروح الحياة لما بتروح من هالدنيا؟ وين بروح فجأة حست بزلزال، والأرض تحتها عم بتزلزل زل 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 زل، والمدينة عم بتخرخر خر 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 خر، واللي عم بتبربر بر 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 بر، وطلع من البحر حوت، حوت كبير وهي وعم تتهدى بالصخرة اجت موجة واخدتها، وبذنبه الكبير طبش بالبحر الحوت، وموجة طولها شي 100 متر طلعت معها أرض وتراب، والمدينة تزلزل زل. مسك الحوت لصدى، ومن المي شيلها طلع فيها وقالها بلغة بتفهمها: أنا عمري من عمر الكون، وإلي هون من وقت ما تكون الكون، وإنتي صدى امبارح بكرة واليوم. جيت لرد على سؤالك وين بروح شوفي يا صدى، رح ناخد بيروت من هون ونزرعها بالكون. رح زلزل زلزل زلزلها لتفك وابلعها، وبعدين مناخدها ومنسافر فيها حتى نرجع نبنيها، وبعدين منردها لهون. ما فيها الحل، هيك قال الحوت وهيك صار. ضل الحوت يزلزل 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 ببيروت لحديد ما أبى بلع، وأخذ صدى وحطن بالكون. قولكن هيدا هو الحل الوحيد حتى تخلق الأرض من جديد. وهيك صارت صدى تلملم، صدى مبارح وبكرة واليوم، وتنقي كل شي حلو بالدنيا وتحطه هون. جنينات جنينات على مد النظر والعين، ناس عايشة من دون قالوئي، من دون لا انت مين ولا انت ليش هون ولا انت من وين. كل شي ماشي مع كل شي، حتى لو مشي بيشبه شي إلا الشي يلي فيه. مشي بيشبه شي إلا الشي يلي فيه. وصار هالكوكب يكبر ويكبر بألوان مثل قوس القزح يلعب، حتى وصلت أخباره لآخر الدنيا عن ناس عايشة بفرح وطمأنينة، وغابات واصل الأرض بالسما، وكائنات بتعشش بالتراب وبالهواء. لحديد ما هونيك يوم. سيداتي سادتي، لقد وردنا الآن أن الوكالة العالمية للفضاء اكتشفت كوكبا. نعم سيداتي سادتي، اكتشفت كوكبا جديدا، كوكب يقولون أنه أحمر أصفر عنابي أزرق أخضر بنفسجي. يقول الدكتور جهاد توما عالم الفضاء اللبناني أنهم رصدوا على هذا الكوكب الجديد صدى دائم يتكرر. لحظة معنا غرفة الإرسال. لحظة، يبدو أن هذا الصدى لسؤال. نعم سؤال وين بروح؟ نعم سيداتي سادتي، السؤال والصدى المتكرر باللغة العربية وتحديدا باللبنانية مفاجأة كبرى. يا إلهي إنها مفاجأة كبرى، كوكب جديد في فضائنا اللامرئي. شكرا دكتور جهاد توما على هذا الخبر، وتصبحون على كوكب وين بروح وأنتم بخير وروح.
everyone. I'm so happy to be here today with my sisters, Nathalie and Nadine, to share some poems with you. I'm Naomi Shihab Nye, and I'd love to thank my dear friend, Hazami Sayed of Al-Bustan for inviting me to be part of this program. I really appreciate the title of the program today, Hope and Joy Still Abiding, because through the many months that we have all been living in the world, I think that concept has bolstered our courage so many days, so many ways, and many times poetry has been a big part of it for many of us. You read a poem, you work on a poem, and you feel as if your hope is coming back to you. So thanks to Al-Bustan for all you have given to so many children and adults over the years. It's been an honor to be connected to you. And thanks to my beautiful sisters for being here with me today. Arab Festival T-shirt. Seattle, 2007. I wasn't even there, but wear this shirt proudly all the time. Since when Arab tragedy only? No! Forgetting spread tables, smoky eggplant, tiny spinach pies, punctuating pomegranate seeds, neat almond in the center of each rectangle of harissa. Since when we put down embroideries, joy, birth certificates of stitching and knotting, naming of constellations, discovery of equations, dancing with the handkerchief, oud and drum. We will teach our children, guard our skeins of blue and red thread, refusing to forget laughter, even if the world forgets we ever have it. And this t-shirt with bright turquoise and orange lettering on brave black says so. I've had the privilege and great pleasure of working with kids in Gaza and the West Bank during the pandemic, talking through Zoom or Google Chat. They share their writing with me, they ask their writing questions, and here is a poem which came from one of those occasions. Cross the Sea. A girl in Gaza speaks into a table microphone. Do you believe in infinity? If so, what does it look like to you? Not like a wall, not like a soldier with a gun, not like a ruined house bombed out of being, not like concrete wreckage of a school's good hope, a clinic's best dream. In fact, not like anything imposed upon you and your family thus far in your precious 13 years. My infinity would be the never-ending light you deserve, every road opening up in front of you. Soberly, she nods her head. In our time, voices cross the sea easily, but sense is still difficult to come by. Next girl's question. Were you ever shy? This past weekend, working with kids in the West Bank who were younger than those kids, I think these kids were 11 or 12, talking about their writing, I was so touched by the way they never complain. I don't think I've heard a Palestinian kid complain yet about any circumstance. And they're very wonderful with metaphors, very curious, and also very matter-of-fact and sensible about the virus situation we're all in. Before you can. My Jewish friends are kind and gentle. Not one of them would harm another person, even if they didn't know that person. My Arab friends are kind and gentle. Not one of them would harm another person, even if they didn't know that person. They might press you to drink 45 small cups of coffee or tea, but that would be all. My Jewish friends have never taken my house, my land, herded me into a cell, tortured me, cut down my tree, even once. My Arab friends have never built a bomb. We respect each other as equals. We look somewhat alike. We laugh similarly. We have never said that the other should not exist. So where is the problem exactly? Let's be specific. Who and where and what is the problem exactly? You have to know before you can fix it. And this is from a series of poems I wrote after my Palestinian father died. I inherited his many notebooks, and 2 years after he died, I was able to open them. Many of them were in Arabic, so I couldn't read them, but I found sentences floating on his pages, sort of like what a poet would do. They were these drifting, lonely sentences, and I felt compelled to use them as titles and write poems under them. And the surprise for me was that the poems came out in my father's voice, which was something I had never done before. Everything in our world did not seem to fit. So that was by Aziz Shihab. And then I wrote, once they started invading us, taking our houses and trees, drawing lines, pushing us into tiny places. It wasn't a bargain or deal or even a real war. To this day, some pretend it was. But it was something else. We were sorry what happened to them, but we had nothing to do with it. You don't think what a little plot of land means till someone takes it and you can't go back. Your feet still want to walk there. Now you are drifting, worse than homeless dust, very lost feeling. I cried even to think of our hallway, cool stone passage inside the door. Nothing would fit for years. They came with guns, uniforms, declarations. Life magazine said, it was surprising to find some Arabs still in their houses. Surprising? Where else would we be? Up on the hillsides, conversing with mint and sheep, digging in dirt? Why was someone else's need for a home greater than our own need for our own homes we were already living in? No one has ever been able to explain this sufficiently, but they find a lot of other things to talk about. One of my recent books, called The Tiny Journalist, is dedicated to May Mansour Munn, who was a beautiful Palestinian who immigrated to Texas also, where I live. But it's also dedicated to the new generation of young people growing up in Palestine, particularly Jenna Jihad Ayad, who is a young activist, the tiny journalist for which the book is named, and her cousin Ahed Tamimi, and all of the young people who are experiencing the ongoing layering of oppression, occupation, and exile of different kinds, which my father also knew. and which I also knew living there when I was a teenager. So I'll read a few poems to close from The Tiny Journalist, and I'm very happy to say that this book won both Texas Poetry Prizes this year, which is very rare that the same book wins the 2 Texas Poetry Prizes. And I just want to say that because many people have a dim view of Texas politics, but the fact that, as I often do as well, but the fact that 2 judges in 2 different competitions in this state selected The Tiny Journalist, which is definitely a book for justice, means a lot to me. So I will speak that detail. Morning Song for Jenna. The Tiny Journalist will tell us what she sees, document the moves, the dust, soldiers blocking the road. Yes, she knows how to take a picture with her phone, holds it high like a balloon. Yes, she would prefer to dance and play, would prefer the world to be pink. It is her job to say what she sees, what is happening. From her vantage point, everything is huge, but don't look down on her. She's bigger than you are. If you stomp her garden, each leaf expands its view. Don't hide what you do. She sees you at 2 a.m. adjusting your impenetrable vest. What could she have that you want? Her treasures, the shiny buttons her grandmother loved, her cousin, her uncle, there might have been a shirt. The Tiny Journalist notices action on faraway roads, farther even than the next village. She takes counsel from bugs, so puffs of dust find her first. Could that be a friend? They pretended not to see us. They came at night with weapons. What was our crime? That we liked respect as they do? That we have pride? She stares through a hole in the fence, barricade of words and wire, feels the rising fire before anyone strikes a match. She has a better idea. I wish grandmas and children ran the world, and I've always wished that. And I want to mention that many years ago, I was criticized in Dubai by a literary critic for writing about eggplant. He actually said to my face, "Only fools would write about eggplant." And I said, well, I accept that label then, because I think it's very important to honor the foods which sustain us. So I will close with a poem called "And That Mysterious Word Holy." And of course, it was a word that was a big part of my childhood, because when people asked my father where he was from, sometimes he said Jerusalem, sometimes Palestine, and sometimes, depending on who was asking, he would just say, the Holy Land. And that mysterious word, holy. And by the way, I proceeded in the years after that dialogue in Dubai to write about eggplant and eat it as much as I could. You might as well take a rotten lemon, squeeze it in your hand. Let the juice trickle down your wrist and arms. Sharp bite of acidity prickling your scratches and scars, and say, I bow down to you. When the almond tree erupts into blossom without help from any people, I bow down. Here we are in the land of sacred story, chant, shrines, altars and grottos, parables, and soldiers in camouflage are carrying guns. What does that say about holy? How much power it doesn't have. Thou shalt not kill, crumpled under our feet. Whose religion would you follow? And why do they wear camouflage? We can still see them. Who are they hiding from? The guns are bigger than we are. The tanks are bigger than shrines. Tear gas canisters, grenade casings, littering graves of our ancestors in the cemetery. I bow down. You bow to the big shining platter everyone eats off together. Sit in a circle for your holy rice. Speak after me. Holy eggplant, my best angel. Thank you all so much.
Hello, friends. This is a very special evening to gather with the wonderful Huda, Kinan, Hafez, Nadine, and to share yet another moment with my longtime friend and sister Naomi is a great gift, especially during these challenging times. But this evening is particularly special because it is an Al-Bustan event. And Al-Bustan is a pyramid of songs and colors that draw new worlds in our imagination. I want to thank the grand and extraordinary energy of Hazami for creating such a dynamic and important space, Every word with you has been enlightening and unforgettable. To you, dear friend, I offer this reading tonight. I want to start with a poem for all those who left us this year. I look at the way silence moved the streets, the way we leave ourselves and others, the way our shadows come back for more solitude, the way death holds death hostage, even when it begs to walk down the lonesome road. Maybe we need to empty our souls to find those thinking of us in memories we forgot. Maybe we will see darkness healing as ships land on pale shores. Or maybe we will fall into the sea, not forgetting that love is a longer voyage than life. Poetry has really saved me, and nothing brings more hope and joy than poems. Poems are always there for us and ask nothing in return. So this poem is in celebration of poetry. I look at the ruins of Babel, languages lying in morsels. I look at the Roman ruins at Rome, its columns and Colosseum. I move to Piraeus, Athens to Kyoto, Calcutta to Delphi, and ask, where are the poems? Where are the poems? Only they can capture such splendor. But I'm met with glares on faces that say, poets are in saloons, streets, in solitude. No one reads poetry anymore. Then an eclipse or earthquake, and we search for poems we never read. Their quiet motion moves us like a great and sudden wind, like a wild and soft whisper. Poems, divine and alive, their repetitions keep us moving, explain to us histories, wars, and nature. Poems, a long paper covering the world like a great music composed together to tell us that love is all love needs. We forget poems all over again, but poems continue to sing to us and wait for us to sing. The following poems I'm going to read are from my latest collection, Life in a Country album. And Al-Bustan generously supported readings and event when the book came out. So thank you again, Al-Bustan. And the first poem is to the many places exile has taken me. It's a poem entitled Orphic. As a child, I believe God was in the wind that carried us elsewhere, that departures were returns. I buried the sun in my father's ashtray to see him in eyes in Berlin or Stockholm, where the cold is another country, longing another landscape. And the past comes back. Close the door. Solitude will not leave. Close the window. Light will not escape. Close the wooden trunk. Memory will not vanish. Close your eyes. Home will not disappear. Close everything close. All will remain, like Mostar and Jerusalem, like our Roman chants, Byzantium icons, Muslim prayers. The years passed. I looked for death in Palermo and found my mother's womb. Looked for life in Thessaloniki and found a song about death. Looked for my image in Venice and found all my images. Crossed Trieste with my heart and Naples without my hesitations. Memorized Marseille from Notre-Dame de la Garde. Counted all my dreams in Akka. Found my name in the Colosseum. Listened to the lemons fall for hours in Rome. Waited for my lover to tell me the sea can't break. And found a musician born in a small town that reminded me that music always takes us back to the cities we are made from. And talking about cities, my great and wonderful city of Bethlehem has always been a great source of inspiration. And this is the background you see there, behind me is beautiful Bethlehem. And this is a poem entitled Chariots. There are men who die with the wrong name, others who invent, forget, or doubt their names. I know every syllable of my name in Arabic. Every word is a direction. This poem is the last poem in Life in a Country album, and it's entitled Eleftheria, and it means freedom in Greek. Though I walk without chains or fears, I am not the light in midnight's dream. Though I walk two separate roads at once, my body leaps from dream to dream, where beliefs burden gods with disbeliefs and replace this place for pleasure. Though we know night is unfinished and we are our imperfect wishes, spinning our compass, playing perfect overtures, we enter a labyrinth of vestiges, drift into directions undefined, where the sound of myth is different from its noise, where freedom is everything we want it to be, nothing we hope it to be. We know if horses can't gallop, if the streets break our skull, our invisible hurt, our lull, we will no longer see stop signs. We will no longer know low tides. We will no longer feel the indifference of the wind. We will reset our wings. The wonderful Alice Quinn put together an anthology entitled Together in a Sudden Strangeness, which is American poets responding to the pandemic. And this poem, Voyages, speaks to this moment that we are living. Voyage. Shut off the music, the lights, close the window and travel. Let your body gather voices as if they're flowers in an infinite garden. Thank your spirit for the flight. Thank the earth for the echoes and empathy, for emptying your fears of time past. Be certain of your direction. Your heart knows the road, the one with needles under your feet that feels less painful than all the dying around, the one that is made of water, where floating is a long and short breath. And always be kind to the healing earth. Don't be tempted by its roars, which are its pains. Let the ache out. Gather all yourselves, angel and bird, ancestor and bark. Gather your wanderings so you can rest for a while. Then awake to thank those who didn't make it back. Thank you, and I want to end this reading with a poem that I wrote especially for this event, and in particular for Hazami. It's entitled Tomorrow. Tomorrow, white horses will cross the skies and shadows will waltz with wonder. Tomorrow, the mist will be rivers of laughter and the wind will whisper, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Tomorrow will be like the Mediterranean Sea, magnificent and full of wings, and we will be dreamers, dreaming, daring. Tomorrow, the fields of sumac will sing, and we will be so alive, our hearts will be heaven's canvas, where we will write and write and write again, hope and joy, joy and hope. Let's dance. Let's find a new world beginning to turn around us. Let's find a new kind of kindness inside of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadine, Naomi, and Nathalie for these brilliant readings and your lovely sentiment toward Hazami and Al-Bustan. And thank you, Kinan and Hafez, for transporting us as you always do. We're going to turn now to our conversation. We probably don't know each other, me, Naomi, and Nathalie, and Nadine, but we do share a very, very strong bond. We are all Hazami's friends. We have entered her orbit. We have been touched by her passion for the Arabic language and the arts, and her unwavering dedication for a just and diverse representation of our experience as Arab Americans, not only representation, but affirmation of this experience as an integral, original, important part of the American society. Before I turn to my questions that are more like prompts or comments asking you to share more, I am honored and actually shaking with excitement because I'm going to turn the camera and the mic a little bit to our chair of our board chair of the board of directors, Omar Harb, who is going to present a very special announcement on the behalf of the board. Omar, tafaddal.
Thank you. Shukran, Huda. Masa al-khair, everybody. And thank you so much again for the amazing poets and the musicians as well. We can't forget about the musicians. And it's been really, truly amazing. And I'm looking forward to the question and answer session. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak briefly. I wanted to first acknowledge the board, as Hazami did in the beginning. They've been working tirelessly with Hazami over the years, and in particular over this past year in developing our transition plan and in seeking a new board member, a new executive director. And as you can appreciate and expect, that Hazami has had a big hand in making sure we select an appropriate person. So we're all very excited to have Mohannad Ghawanmeh taking her place, and big shoes to fill, but we are very confident he'll be able to do that. Really, the main reason I am on today is to, again, as all of us, to acknowledge Hazami. And one thing that the board has been thinking about is how do we honor her? So as you know, in the beginning, Hazami showed this beautiful book from Al-Seed, which we presented to Hazami from current board members, just as a token. It's actually, as a side note, it's really amazing to be just walking down in West Philadelphia and look up and see a Al-Seed mural. And the reason it's there is because of Hazami and because of Al-Bustan's work, as so many things that Hazami has touched in the city and throughout. So how do we acknowledge Hazami? How do we acknowledge somebody so amazing? And if you know anything about Al-Bustan, you will know that Al-Bustan started as a summer camp where Hazami, and that was post 9/11, and Hazami with her young children, she was thinking about a way to make sure that young children of Arabic heritage in particular, in this case, had a place where they can safely and proudly experience their culture and their heritage. And so they started the summer camp, which developed to actually be all-inclusive, to include people from all sorts of backgrounds, and developed even further from only supporting children to supporting adults and using the arts as a means to build bridges between people. These bridges that Hazami and Al-Bustan have been able to build are actually bridges that anyone can cross. You don't have to be an Arab, you don't have to be a Jew, you don't have to be of any background. Anyone can cross these bridges. And so how do we honor her? So we decided that we will seek support from current board members and former members to establish a scholarship fund in Hazami's name to support camp children in need to attend the camp for many years to come. And we really put this together very quickly, sort of trying to sample and see, can we get support? And very quickly, we raised close to $11,000 to support the scholarship. And so this is quite amazing. We're very excited. We are obviously accepting many more donations, and so to anyone, the audience listening, I know there are people from all over the world listening. I encourage you to donate either to the Scholarhood Fund or to Al-Bustan in general, as Al-Bustan's mission really to teach about culture, Arabic culture in particular, using the arts is a universal method of teaching, and I think something that all of us can be in touch with. So Hazami, thank you from on behalf of the board. I would like to thank you, Hazami, for everything you've contributed, and we hope that this scholarship will be something that can go on for years to come to honor you and honor your contribution to Al-Bustan and Philadelphia in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. I wish I could see Hazami's face, but I'm sure she appreciates how important the message of the summer camp is and the impact on children. Yes, so we took some time, but I have to mention that this conversation was supposed to be between the four of us, but Nadine unfortunately cannot join us. She is experiencing power and internet problems, but anyone who has witnessed her performance now or has ever met Nadine knows that Nadine cannot be absent, no matter how much she tried. So she is very present in her absence. And she, by not being able to join us, she reminds us to remember, even though we cannot forget, the daily grievances and challenges of existing in Lebanon. And this is something that is very personal for me. My parents, I'm not sure if they're in the light or in the dark, but they were supposed to be joining in as well and following us through YouTube. There are these places that haunt us. Beirut haunts me, Bethlehem haunts Nathalie, Jerusalem haunts Naomi. And Beirut is with us recently more than ever before. So I just want to acknowledge Nadine's presence, not her absence, and thank her for her performance. And we hold you in the light even when the electricity's out. So I have a few comments. I have actually many notes, and I've listened to your readings more than once, and I have so much to say, but I won't take up too much time. Using the mission statement, Al-Bustan's mission statement as a springboard, place is one thing we all contend with in different ways. Places, even when I wasn't even there, as Naomi says, or the many cities were made from, as Nathalie says. So my question to you, especially in a year like this, in 2012, where time and space has shrunk so much, how do you contend or anchor yourself in the places you are now in, the immediate places, and how do you invite the places that haunt you into that moment?
Nathalie?
You know, the stillness has been so incredibly violent, I've found, especially in the early days when we, in New York City, I never thought I would ever be in New York City where there was complete silence, where it was a silence that was, there was not, it's not only the silence was outside, but you couldn't even hear footsteps in the building. And those 3 months, I don't think I'll ever forget them. I don't know, you know, space as Palestinians, we're very much aware of what it is to be in confined spaces. And I couldn't really go to poetry at that time, which was very scary because poetry has always been the place that I could go to. But once I was able to return to poetry, and you know, when you're in a poem, it's a small space that can take you to the farthest places, right? That's the power of poetry. And I was somehow able to reach the people. I mean, in this case, you know, you're talking about place, but of course, place is associated with the people you love, right? So this is how we reached them when I was able to go back to the page. But before that, it was quite haunting. Naomi?
Well, I feel that in some ways we've all been living on Nadine's planet, this planet swirling with questions, all those exquisite questions that are offered up in her story that carry us far away and hopefully bring us closer. I found myself clinging to the smallest things, the simplest objects or single words. For days, I would carry a single word inside me and just meditate on that one word and think about what it signified. And I think when we're in a time of great mystery and complexity, sometimes we need that tangible sense of gravity, to stare at a single bowl on a countertop with one lemon in it, or to carry the word compact in and out of the house and hold it and look at the world in terms of single words. But I think that is something poets are particularly inclined to. We do that anyway. But this past year has been quite extreme and also fraught with anxiety that threaded through our consciousness at all times. So I feel what you're saying, Nathalie, and I reach out to you from that mysterious planet in the silence, and to Nadine far away, but she stays so close. And I would say for me, music was one of the most grounding elements too. So thank you for the music today, great musicians. I think I listened to music 10 times more than usual this year because I didn't go anywhere.
We here in Philadelphia were lucky enough to have Al-Bustan, which is our window onto the world. And it has been life-saving to just be on the board and follow Hazami and the force that she carries with her. Listening to you again and reading your work, another important theme related to Al-Bustan's mission is language. And you know, Al-Bustan and all of its programs are rooted in the Arabic language and the arts. I wonder now, listening to you and when I read you, tell us a little bit about your relationship with the Arabic language. There is echo in voice. Naomi spoke about her father's notebooks, about the lonely sentences on the page. Nathalie knows the syllables of her name in Arabic. Tell us a little bit more, us, the Bustan family, about your relationship with the Arabic language, whether it's immediate or mediated by something else.
I can answer quickly, and then Nathalie, who is much smarter than I am, will carry on. But I am not good with languages. I feel that Arabic is the ground out of which my whole life sprang on my father's side, but I don't speak Arabic. If I had known Hazami and Al-Bustan earlier, I think I might. So I feel very much shame and embarrassment. I only officially studied it for 1 year, but should probably have studied it for 10 years to be grounded in it. So I love hearing Arabic. I feel very happy when I hear it. And I, of course, understand a lot and speak many words, but I do not speak it. So when we grow up, I've said before, I have the sound, but not the sense. When we're on the fringes of a great world language, but we don't grasp how to use it ourselves, it's sad for us, but I love to be in the presence of Arabic. So Nathalie, you speak.
I didn't mean to shame. I didn't mean to shame. I actually was referring to much of the echoes we hear of Arabic in your work, even if you don't speak it or write it. But there is a sound and an echo that's clearly there. Nathalie.
I hear the Arabic in your work, Naomi, so much. It's so present, and I think that's how I experience music. Arabic, I experience it like music. Arabic to me is music. And so I can find the Arabic in your poems, for example. And to me, the Arabic, my relationship to the Arabic language is, I feel so my body, the way it exists in my body, I'm fluent in it in my body. That doesn't mean I'm fluent in it when I'm trying to articulate to find the words, as Naomi said. So it's this very strange relationship. It comes back to the idea of distance, because I mean, as someone who's lived a very displaced life in the diaspora and exile, you're always dealing with distance. And so that distance also manifests itself with my relationship with the Arabic language. So I have this fluency as it moves through me, but that doesn't mean I have the dictionary, you know.
Well, maybe it's not only the language I was referring to, but the world out of it.
Yes, exactly.
The world it brings to us. So when you stand up and defend the cause of an eggplant, then you are definitely channeling something of home, something of home. When we say Arabic, we're talking about, you know, a world in which to which we belong and we're made from, even if we're distanced and exiled from it.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, that is a gift, Huda, to hear you say that. That is very beautiful and meaningful.
And that I hope the critic in Dubai is tuning in.
Doing in eggplant.
So on a related note, I mean, Nadine's not with us, and this would have been more complicated had she been, the question. But it's something I grapple with living in the United States. But I wonder how it is for you. Part of what Al-Bustan has succeeded in doing is affirming the Arab American experience and bringing in refugees, immigrants, people who are third generation, bringing them into the same hall, allowing them to enjoy the same transporting experience of Hafez and Kinan's music or poetry readings when you visited. So I'm wondering, this mission or this cause of affirming another belonging, another self that's part of you, how do you contend with it? Does it frustrate you? Does it burden you? Does it motivate you? I don't want to use the word representation. I'm a little bit allergic to it, you know, where art that represents something. Right. But how do you think about this privately? How does it bear on your creative process? This burden of a cause or affirming something that's in the margin and that you feel needs more light.
I don't see it as a burden. I see it as a privilege. And because we have access through our culture, our care, our cuisine, our artistry, our music, everything in our lives, we have the opportunity to speak out of it and try to connect with current moments. I would like to say Hazami has done the most incredible job in the communities she serves of connecting to the widest cultures of the city of Philadelphia. And I remember telling her that in all my years of visiting schools, the only time I had ever witnessed a superintendent of a district attending a child's program of poetry and music was an Al-Bustan project. And I felt so happy that Al-Bustan is so inclusive that it can only be a positive effect. When you invite people and when you share with them, then your world grows larger. And that is what Al-Bustan has done so successfully and what I think poets try to do in our own lives. We're using an intimate art, the poem, but we're trying to speak in a wider way to connect to wider community.
Yes, I would like to use everything you said, Naomi, and say that to a lot of young people who sometimes tell me, you know, they're caught in between these two cultures, as Huda was asking, that they don't feel, you know, Arab enough or American enough, and they struggle with that duality. And I love what you just said. If we can sort of not think of it as something that's pulling us apart, but actually not thinking of it like fragments, but thinking that fragments can be whole, like there can be a wholeness to it. It's not, we also have to acknowledge that obviously there are forces around us, you know, social, political forces, etc., that make us constantly in conversation. But then it's up to us to sort of negotiate with that. In my experience, I've always been translating one culture to the other and negotiating one to the other just naturally, because we're always in dialogue with these borders, you know, the borders of language, the borders of identity, the borders of nationality, the borders of, a home. So you're always in conversation with it, right? You're always dialoguing with it. I think sometimes it was earlier on, it was painful, and later on, I used it to ask really important questions. And those questions have brought me so much clarity. I mean, once you've found the question, you actually have the answer, right? But so I've used it in this way to inform me on what the world is thinking, on sort of thinking of informing me of the gaze of others, and also on how what I feel and how I've evolved in that identity or on my journey.
Yeah, I think the idea of bringing borders into this is very important, because, see, my question came out of a frustration of labels. When you say Arab American, Palestinian American, it's like you're closing, you're setting borders for an artistic experience. But when you think of the label as a launching point, as you said, as a starting point that is supposed to expand and include others. And yes. I think Al-Bustan has done that. It has allowed me as an Arab woman from Lebanon to bring into my experience my neighbors who are African American or Asian American or who are Polish, and we are all Lebanese in one moment when we're sitting in a Bustan program. So yes, pushing against the borders or limitations of labels.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes, beautiful.
So there's another label that I think is evident here, which is woman, a female artist, a female activist. And she has a better idea, your tiny journalist says. And she almost always does, I think.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something about that? Again, that's another label that sometimes limits or frustrates, but let's expand it. Thinking of Hazami and her legacy, but also your brilliant careers, your contributions to a conversation in this country, which always needs to be expanded. What do you do with that label when it's tossed around?
Well, isn't it astonishing that it's taken this long for us to be on the brink of having a woman at the top of our country, second in command in the United States? It's just astonishing to me that it's taken this long. I think that it's so obvious that the power of women is so elemental and crucial that it almost is beyond discussion in some ways. I mean, it's so obvious. I did always feel women were luckier than men, actually, because I thought we got to have kind of obsessions with more interesting things in lives. And, even at dinner parties, I would think about, what are the women talking about? What are the men talking about? And even as a child, I remember thinking, the women are the power figures in the rooms. And I definitely felt my Siti, my Palestinian grandmother, was the power person of the entire family. And so I just want us all to celebrate our variety and our mixture and keep remembering the joy of being women.
That's great.
Would you like to add anything, Nathalie?
No, I think she said it all.
You answer first. Any questions from now on?
Well, I'm not sure I have much time left.
Thank you so much, Huda. It's so nice to be in your company again.
Yes.
Last time we saw each other, Naomi. Last time I saw, of course, with Naomi, we're always, where are you? That's our line, in the skies, but we haven't been moving much. But Huda and I, when I launched my book, we were together in Philadelphia with Hazami, and we couldn't have imagined that soon after we would be in this reality.
Huda, thank you. Thank you so much, Nathalie and Huda and Hazami and everyone for creating this program and inviting us to be part of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both, and thank you, Nadine, if she's listening to us. I think we might have some questions from our audience. I was promised some to show up on my screen. I know that in the YouTube chat, many people had brilliant things to say and many questions and insightful comments. I'm not sure if we will have time for some of those now. If not, I think it's time for me to hand it over to Mohannad, I think. But now, there he is. Thank you again, Naomi and Nathalie.
Islamu. Islamu.
Good evening. I'm joined by two virtuoso musicians you have heard tonight and who have long been associated with Al-Bustan, who have a thing or two to share, Kinan Abou-afach and Hafez Kotain. Gentlemen.
Marhaba. Hello, everyone.
So, gentlemen, I think I'm not sure if there are any questions from the chat that you would like to respond to. Otherwise, we welcome your concluding remarks.
I mean, I want to thank those who say thank you for beautiful music, and thank you to this beautiful team that I really miss all of you guys. It's been a while, like Nathalie mentions and Naomi. Other than that, thank you all those who wrote us for beautiful music. Again, I have to always mention being honored to share always that stage, in this case, the music at our hub with my brother Kinan. That it's always an honor to share this wonderful music and his music, by the way, whom we perform, I believe, 3, right, Kinan? Of your
yeah, it was 3, I think. Yeah.
So Kinan, all yours now.
Oh, okay. There was some technical difficulties here. Well, thank you so much, really. I mean, I really don't know what to begin. First of all, this was maybe the most emotionally charged performance in general that I've attended with Al-Bustan, or maybe not with Al-Bustan. It was really beautiful poetry. Thank you, Nadine, Nathalie, Naomi, and Huda. And definitely thank you, Hafez, so much for this. And thank you, Hazami, for making this happen. I mean, not this performance, but in general, how you let us like jump over all the stereotypes that we have against Arabs and against our culture and music. And you just broke everything, every stereotype, and produced something that we are really, really very proud of, very proud to be a part of, and very proud to observe it, even just like to be from the outside and watch what you are doing with our culture. It kind of reminds me of my grandmother and her grandmother. It reminds me really of the Middle East in the 20s and 30s when women were like powerful. They were able to raise kids. They were able to have a family, but also like they were like politicians. They were like doing things that maybe now like the people are knowing that like this was a part of our culture, like the equality, like women are equal to men, and you prove to us that women can do stuff, especially like this. So thank you so much, and of course thank you for bringing our like, the good side of our culture, just showing it to people. So my last word's gonna be Shukran Hazami.
Shukran Hazami.
Thank you. I'd like to express my gratitude to Al-Bustan's board of directors for having the confidence in me to appoint me as successor to the distinguished Hazami Sayed. I'm filled with admiration for what you've accomplished, Hazami, and I'm inspired by your contribution. I assure you, the board, our funders, fellows, and family, that I will dedicate all of my devices to guiding and growing Al-Bustan Seeds of Culture. In collaboration with my brilliant team, I promise enriching, original, and inventive arts programming and education. I thought to conclude with an expression of my gratitude to you, Hazami, but so did a host of other people.
Hazami, congratulations on your wonderful work with Al-Bustan. Philadelphia is a much more vibrant city because of your work and your dedication. Thank you for lifting up Arab culture.
Words cannot express how much value your passion and dedication have added to this community, and I hope that we can make you proud as you move on to the next big thing.
I thank you so much for all the work that you've done with Northeast High School. You've exposed myself and my students to Arabic culture in a way that we've never experienced it before, and for that I am forever grateful.
You have helped me grow as a learner in many ways in different settings, including camp and my internship. I will miss you. Shukran jazeeran.
Hazami embodies professionalism, kindness, and patience and diligence all at once. It has been such a pleasure working with her on the board.
You are one of the most intelligent, creative, genuine, and impactful people I've ever met.
My daughter attended Al-Bustan camp with her, and I worked with you, Hazami, with the refugees. You're an inspiration. I love you, and I wish you the best.
Hazami has been such a positive force in introducing Arab arts and culture to Philadelphia. Her hard work and dedication towards using arts appreciation as a way to foster positive cultural identity and cross-cultural understanding is really, really remarkable.
I would like to say thank you. We will miss you dearly, and congratulations, and I'm sure that anything that you do will be phenomenal.
A multitude of thanks for everything you've done with Al-Bustan, and especially for our amazing partnership at Moffitt School for so many years.
Hazami, thank you for being an anchor of home for me and my family in this country, in this city, in this neighborhood. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be part of Al-Bustan's family.
She was able to bring all the different communities in Philadelphia together. Her work was extremely unifying, and I really, really appreciate that.
Congratulations on a spectacular career. The more I learn about Bustan and what you did to build this phenomenal cultural center, it's really quite amazing. So I wish you the best.
The programs and events with Al-Bustan have become a very important part of life here for my whole family.
Thank you so much for all the opportunities you provided Al-Bustan, this community, and me.
You know, Hazami has been a profound mentor throughout the years for me, and I've watched this organization blossom into something so beautiful. And Hazami's legacy will be one of love and commitment and dedication to our community.
I've always been impressed by the excellence of the programs you put together, the insightfulness and thoughtfulness that you bring to the programs and to your work. Your work has had a real impact.
Al-Bustan is embedded with her values of connecting people, and I know that the organization has a solid foundation because of all of the hard work and love that she put into it. And thank you for, giving all of us Al-Bustan. It's an incredible gift.
The organization that you built is one that I have a great love for, and I think has had an immense impact on the Philadelphia community and the Arab community in particular. I think we all know that Al-Bustan is really blessed to have had you as a founder and executive director for all these years.
I have learned so much from you. I am always so appreciative of you being this strong woman leader.
And I'm going to watch as you unfold your future accomplishments, particularly in your quest to connect people, which you do all the time.
Hazami, we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank you for your service.
We love you, we will miss you, and good luck. Mwah.
I would like to thank Dave Tavani and Western Sound for their superb video and audio work respectively, and would like to acknowledge the splendid artwork of Lisa Walters hanging in Al-Bustan's hub at the moment, and which appeared in the backdrop to this evening's musical performances. Ample thanks to the esteemed literateurs and musicians who have contributed to tonight's event with outstanding performances, and generous gratitude to our guests for attending from near and far and for engaging with us. We hope to see you again in a joyous 2021. Thank you, Hazami, and farewell. Salam to one and all. Good night.